is a summary of all of the questions and answers of the Rank 2.0 Q&A yesterday. If you want to see the full thing, it is on my YouTube. There is no plan for placement games to return, and there's also no plans for Ranked 3.0 right now, but instead they want to improve Ranked 2.0 by implementing new features. First new feature is the Phantom Player. This will essentially stop people from being able to boost, so champs will no longer be able to get into gold lobbies. Brief summary of how the Phantom Player will work. If a champ queues with 2 coppers, it will look at how many people are in that stack and look at the deficit between their ranks. Obviously, champion to copper, that is the biggest deficit you could get in between the ranks. So the Phantom Player will be a 6th player, and the MMR of that player will be based on the squad. So in this case, it would be brought up to diamond, for example, so then the opponents that team faces will be diamonds and champs, which will make it impossible for that champion to be able to boost because they'll get harder games. Next feature will prevent smurfing. Skill initialization will soon come to the game, and it will stop people from being able to smurf in ranked. So when they start a new account, when you get to level 50, right now it will put you into the middle of the bell curve, which is silver or gold. In the future, the game will look at how you performed during your first 50 levels, and if it thinks that you're a smurf, for example, because you played really well, you'll be put at a higher end of the bell curve, the same as if you are a genuine new player and you don't deserve to be in silver or gold, it will put you more where you belong, like copper or bronze. There are no plans right now for hidden MMR to be revealed to players, but they did say that they are looking at having ranks display at the end of the match. We may see a new rank in the future for the very high end of players. I asked the question of if they plan to bring in a top 500 rank, for example, and although Christopher said that they are not announcing anything today or not necessarily confirming anything today, he did say that there is an acknowledgement that there is an appetite for this competitiveness of ranked. So although nothing is solidified, it is something I expect we will see in the future. It was acknowledged that in ranked 1.0 there was 0.2% of champs, whereas now in ranked 2.0 it is 0.8. Although the number has increased by quite a lot, they're content with this number because it is under 1%. Finally have confirmation about what plays a part in your hidden MMR, and the only thing that changes your hidden MMR / your skill is a win-loss. It doesn't matter how many elims you get in a game, and it also doesn't matter how if you plant or play site or play objective, the only thing that will affect your hidden skill is whether you win or lose that game. I went on to ask Christopher why the decision was made in the first place to separate your MMR and skill and keep the skill hidden, and this is what he had to say.
Separating rank and a skill, it had two benefits. One is that we get to work on the actual matchmaking and then try to improve it and try to do that in a way that allowed for the best quality of matches, which the number itself did not necessarily tell you the whole story. And the other one was adding that sense of progression. So instead of everybody, doing their 10 placements and then just kind of ending up where they ended up in the community, allowing people to kind of start at the, say, copper 5 and work their way up to where they belong in the community.
A big question that I got asked to ask them is how can a player know if they're improving or not if they can't see their skill level? And the answer that we basically received is, say you gain 15 and lose 15 at gold 2 one season, and then the season after that elo fall off happens in like gold 1 or plat 5, that means that you have progressed and gotten better over the seasons as you are now getting that elo fall off later on in the progression. Since Ranked 0.2 has come out, it's never been clear on how the matchmaking works when you're in a squad, like whose MMR does it go off of, and Chris described this very well yesterday, so I'll let him explain it better than what I can.
So I'll lay out exactly how matchmaking works, because I think it's important to understand how matchmaking works in order for us to even talk about how do we improve it. So we actually take the average skill of a squad today. So that means if I'm a champion at 4,500, let's just say I'm just on the edge of champion there, and I pair up with, say, someone who's copper or bronze, say at 1,500. What ends up happening in the matchmaking algorithm is we say 4,500 champ, 1,500 copper. We add them together. You get 6,000. How many people in the squad? 2 divided by 2. You end up with a matchmaking rating of 3,000. And then those 2 people go into the queue and say, I have 2 people at 3,000. So you have 1 person at 3,000. So you're somebody who's now at the top of gold, right on the edge of plat. They would end up getting match made together because they're both in 3,000. Additionally, there's another important part to understand how that works, is that there is basically an acceptance criteria that we look for. So what happens in all of our playlists is that we try to get you as close of a match as possible in terms of your skill, but then every 30 seconds we relax that a little bit. So the longer that you end up waiting in the playlist, it'll continue to relax every 30 seconds up to a maximum. And for context, like our ranked maximum is half of what we allow for standard. So we're a lot tighter in terms of what we allow for ranked.
Big question that the community has asked and that they really want is a queue for solo queue players only, but this will never be able to come to the game, as they were also interested in it too, but they said it just wasn't feasible. This would have meant that people wouldn't have been able to ever queue as a 4-stack, and regardless of that aside, queue times for all players was a lot higher than it is now, so solo queue for solo queue players just isn't possible. One of the questions I asked was about mousetrap players on console going into PC lobbies in Season 4. I asked if they'd get put into their own specific lobby with cross-platform between console and PC, or if they'd get put into standard PC lobbies, and they are going to be put in standard PC lobbies, which is great for console players, but I am concerned for PC players when this happens. If I was an avid PC user and I got a mousetrap Zim player on my team, I would be pretty pissed. We'll serve that Zim player right for cheating, but I don't think it's fair for the people whose team they get put onto. One of the final main points that was raised is, why can't we have our hidden skill shown to us? Like, why does it need to be separate? And this is what Chris said. Why can't you show the hidden MMR rating in the game?
Yeah, so it's just that rating is not going to tell the whole story anymore. Like, say, for example, imagine you're a champion, you see 4,500, but then the squad that you end up matching with will ultimately change that rating so much that you'd still end up in a situation where you say, well, why is that person, like say we just added it today, you'd end up in the exact same situation where you would say, well, why is that champion in my lobby? So I think that's the key reason. Like, we don't want to just show you a number that doesn't necessarily have as much meaning as we think it is. But I did say earlier in this call, we are looking at ways that we can kind of bring more information into the game. We will be bringing, a whole how it works section. We're going to be working on career stats, so you can, I guess, see about, how you're performing within the season versus previous seasons. But also we're exploring ways that we can kind of demonstrate that convergence, that idea of, my rank, my skill, how am I converging between those two things? We don't have a good solution for this yet, but I think just putting the number back also doesn't send the right message either.